Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Move to Magnificence. Do you realize that you gifted yourself with talents to express in the world? You gifted yourself. You are massively more talented than you think you are. You created a curriculum for yourself. You created this before you came to Earth. We've talked about this a few times. The talents that you have are expressions of of the beauty of spirit coming through into the world. Now you can take those talents and use them, or they can stay dormant. But why would you do that if you knew you had a talent? You had a dream for yourself, and you gave yourself the talents that you needed to fulfill that dream. Now, I'm thinking about where the word talent came from. And I know I'm not sure if it's Greek or Roman times, talent was a coin, was a piece of money, talents, which connotes value, something of value. Now, what we're talking about here is not value of a material thing. We are talking about the value of something within you, but it is of value. Whatever you're good at, whatever you choose to develop and put out in the world as a talent is valuable. And you came to the earth at this time because you were needed in some way or another. So why not take a look at your talents and see what they can do for you and what you can do with them to create that dream, create the life that you have created as a blueprint for yourself. Okay, always remember that you have value. So let's take a look at different things that can be talents. Traditionally, we think of talent as through the arts of, painters. You have a talented artist, talented musician or singer, talent like playing the piano. Children that are at 5 years old can play the piano, didn't have to try too hard. But there are many other things that can be considered talents, which we don't traditionally think of talents, but those are the things that you want to take a look at in yourself, as well as those other talents. Like for me, as I've spoken in the past, is that I wanted to put out my beliefs and thoughts and message to the world. And first thing I tried to do, actually, the first thing that I did was pick up a paintbrush because I was an artist and paint over some really old canvases that I had done at university. And I thought, okay, I can transform these into something new because I didn't like what I had done like so many years before. So I did this. I did several paintings that had a little bit of a spiritual bent. And a friend of mine asked me, well, what is this all about? And so I started to talk about spirit. And one of the paintings I told her, this was a development of my spiritual sense, starting out with my life and what I came in with. What were my interests early on and how they developed through my life, and hopefully where I get to by the end of my life. And that was my spiritual journey put out in a painting. And I said, I think talking to you about this made me realize that visuals are so much easier to show and express the idea of spirituality. For me, they were anyway, than actual words. People can accept them more. It's got a bit of an emotional content. But then I realized, okay, it's time for me to move on to words. Now, I went to see a regressionist. This was several years ago, but not really, really long time ago. And I told him I wanted to write a book. And it was about spiritual journeying, about past lives. And he said, do you have writers in spirit to help you out? Spirit writers. And I thought, oh, I never even thought about that. But the reality is as I wrote this book, the energy of a couple of poets came through me and just dropped words onto the page. Actually, I channeled them and then I wrote them after what I heard. And it was like, this was not me. Well, but I do have the talent of opening my mind and letting these things come to me. So that's, and I realized that I probably had another lifetime where I knew that person. So, hey, I'll take credit. Okay, so we are talking, there are many kinds of talents. I actually, when I decided to write a book, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I had to grab my notebook because I actually started to put this notebook next to my bed because this is starting to happen, where I woke up and I had a sentence go through my head and I started writing. And then I wrote a whole passage, a whole story that I realized when I woke up, oh, this is going to be part of my book. And I began with these pieces as building blocks in my writing career. They didn't always end up in the book, but they were the beginning of me developing my talent and my understanding of what it is to do, to make an interesting story, okay? That was a challenge for me, but it was so exciting. The fact that I was trying something new. And I knew that I had help. I knew that I had help from the other side. Absolutely. So, but let's look at some other things that can be talents. For instance, people that can taste, use their senses, as in taste. Okay. Well, good chefs have the ability to taste between one flavor and another, minuscule differences. Then there's the ear, there's the ability to hear tonality. Somebody that's a conductor, someone that's a musician. Okay, here's one that I'm quite fond of at the moment. The ability to listen. The ability to stay quiet and listen and pick out the real message behind what's being said. We are in a world where people are talk, 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 talk. And there's very little listening. And, somebody may be listening to something and then they're in their head, rather than really listening carefully and thinking about that person that's speaking, they're thinking, I know what I can say next. I have a story that will be just as good as that one. This is like competition. This is not conversation. This is something that I've been thinking about that since I listened to Jeffrey Sachs, an American economist who has worked with many countries in Europe and speaks at the UN and at the EU, talks about the need for countries to stop making war the part of the conversation when they're conducting negotiations with other countries. What we need are people that can negotiate peace, find common ground. And I'm just like, wow, this is going to be an occupation. This is going to be something that people that are young, who are good at listening and who are intelligent and interested in a topic of some sort, economics, political structure, whatever. This is going to be something that can be used in the future, because between countries, AI is not going to negotiate deals that may be used, but it needs to be face-to-face people or voice-to-voice people that is real. So anyway, that's one of my little rants at the moment. For peace in the world. Okay, I'm working towards that with what I'm doing. So many of us spiritually minded people are working towards that. We are needing it so badly. We need people that will listen, who are considering others rather than just themselves. Okay, everybody has their own little package of talent, abilities to unpack as they choose and use to express in the world, to do something important for themselves first, to express that magnificence that has come through your soul. And that could include talents and abilities from other lifetimes, which you could explore through past lives, through speaking with spirit guides. These are things that are available to all of us. Always remember, you have value. You came here to express yourself, to be part of the world's energy at this time. Be the star that you are. Be the star that you are. When you walk with pride in your own talent, you shine. Others see that in you. So be the star that you are, and allow that talent to shine in the world for the betterment of the energy around you and in the world of peoples you don't even know. We can transform this world through our own abilities, through our own talent and interests. Be the star that you are. Be in your magnificence. Thanks for coming. Hope you are enjoying being a star. You could let me know what your talents are. That would be interesting. See you again. Leslie Corte here, coming to you from the universe.